Do you know what's worse than a cancelled, or should I say, a Days Gone sequel that could have been? A Days Gone trilogy that could have been. That's right, you heard me, a trilogy. So I was probably on my playthrough number 8 or 9 of Days Gone. To be honest, I lost count. And I stumbled upon this podcast by 8-Bit Terror with John Garvin, the creative director, writer for Days Gone, and they talked about a couple of things about the game that piqued my interest. One is the Envision Days Gone trilogy. Now, I know this quote-unquote Envision Days Gone trilogy isn't exactly synonymous with the game's roadmap or plans, if there even was one. And yes, I know any plans for a Days Gone sequel has been confirmed cancelled or rejected ages ago, but I couldn't help but think about the possibilities. Mr. John Garvin mentioned in the sequels, our beloved and most adorable freakers are starting to evolve, and rather quickly at that.
The strain of the virus, its effects on the human nervous and lymphatic systems is accelerating
at an exponential rate.
And not just physically, but with some form of intelligence. I mean, this isn't really surprising because all throughout the game there are hints in the Nero recording, in the reports and so on that the freakers are evolving, they're changing. So just think about this for a second. You're playing as Deacon, Deacon is riding his bike in the open road, then all of a sudden you see a freaking freaker camp the size of Lost Lake Camp, and the freakers are socializing, they're wearing clothes, they're wearing jewelry, and for God's sakes they even have kids. I'm sorry, I'm just having trouble visualizing how freakers, well... So yeah, with all that, they're literally just any other human being or any other human settlement, but with a strong taste for blood and guts. Jesus, that kind of makes me wonder what's in their fridge, or what's their livestock. Anywho, so in the sequels, freakers are not just physically stronger than everyone else, they're relatively civilized, they're armed with weapons, wearing makeshift armor, so God help us all. The new freakers is just another threat Deacon and friends will be facing in this hypothetical Days Gone sequel. Mr. John Garvin gave a good analogy for his Envision Days Gone trilogy. Part 1, or the Days Gone we know now, is like The Walking Dead. It showed us how it all started, introduced the people, the communities, and their struggles, whereas Days Gone 2 would be like Planet of the Apes. Personally, I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes would be more fitting, because on top of being a bigger threat to humanity, these newly evolved freakers start coming together, just like how Caesar and the apes built a community of their own. And then they start taking humans captive. And in Days Gone 3, I'd like to think of it as War of the Planet of the Apes, when Nero fills the role of the military battalion led by Woody Harrelson. And of course, O'Brien said this.
The men above me are coming.
Let's face it, surely even in the game, no one seriously thought for 1 second that Nero is one of the good guys, right? I mean, the acronym alone. Anyway, that's a different story. Mr. Garvin also mentioned in the sequel Sarah will be pregnant. Well, this is to be expected since the story will still heavily revolve around Deacon and Sarah. I mean, I don't mind playing as Abby for a short and reasonable amount of time to see a different perspective, like in The Last of Us Part 2, but at the end of the day, I want the story of our main characters. I imagine people will probably say something like, "Ooh, Sarah's pregnant, what about it?" Let me ask you this though, in your playthrough, or all your playthroughs in Days Gone, have you seen children, or just one, a single healthy human child in Days Gone? No, the virus doesn't have anything to do with it, and the newts or the child freakers do not count. Go ahead.
You know, I ask myself that all the time.
Exactly. Zombie shows or movies paint a good picture when it comes to pregnancy or raising babies in a post-apocalyptic world.
Oh no!
So Sarah's pregnancy will add more oomph to the story or to the drama, because we all know Deacon as this jerky drifter asshole with nothing to lose. Now, all of a sudden, he has a baby, he has a wife, he has everything to lose. The stakes are higher, especially when he goes out in the ship. And hold on, listen, here's the fun part. We know that Sarah is a scientist, and she's worked on the virus before and after the world's gone to shit. Now, John Garvin hinted that Sarah's pregnancy in the sequels may or may not be affected by the virus. Yeah, I'm not sure how to react to that, but I like it. I like it a lot. And lastly is the Days Gone movie. Okay, it's been years since this news made rounds in the internet, and there has been no updates as of making this video in 2024. Although I'd like to be proven wrong, please. Regardless, I'm not really expecting much, but Garvin did say he's all for it, and depending on the movie's success, it may, I repeat, it may just open a window, just, you know, a tiny crack in the window for a sequel. You know what, even if that's a 1% chance of increasing the probability of a sequel, what the hell, I'll take it. So if you want to listen to the podcast, I pinned it in the comments. They talked about some good stuff in there. It kind of made me sad, actually. Anywho, you know the drill, like, subscribe if you like. If not, it's okay. Thanks for watching and stay awesome, possum.